Stéphane? We are good. You see him? Perfect. So let me introduce that property. So we're doing the Zoom testing for you guys to have the amazing experience to meet with the winemaker of one of the winery that we represent, that we import. Actually, today I'm very pleased to present something that I'm from. It's Bordeaux, and especially at the right bank. And we're talking about Saint-Emilion, Côte de Castillon right bank. Today we have the pleasure to have Stéphane. Stéphane Apelbaum is one of my dear friend of the family from Saint-Emilion and Côte de Castillon. He's the winemaker at Chateau Picoron. We also do have online the owner, or the son of the owner, but part of the family, William Kalik. His parents, Frank and Gina, Glenda, sorry, bought the property about 6-7 years ago. So William is also part of the meeting. They are the owner of the property, and Stéphane is the winemaker consulting, then does amazing job with Petit Picoron. We have two wines today. We have Petit Picoron Gold Label 2015 vintage. That is the one that I'm suggesting you to test first. And then we're going to have a Chateau Picoron Black Edition label, which is the special Cuvee 2015 as well. So I thought it was great to have both of those wines next to each other for testing purposes, and also to present and to go more and more in details about winemaking. But here we go. I'm done with my little introduction. I want to thank you everyone from Reno. I get people from San Diego. I get people from Lake Tahoe. I get people from Lodi. I get people from Las Vegas. A lot of people from Vegas. Thank you so much to be part of it. I really appreciate your support. And we're going to start introducing Stéphane in a proper way. Maybe we go to the vineyard with Stéphane. Maybe Will. Will, do you mind to take the lead and introduce your family and when you take over the property? I'm going to unmute you, Will. Here we go.
Hey, Bruno.
Will,
hey everyone. Sorry, I'm a little bit on the run, so if you can't hear me very well, sorry for that.
No, it's fine.
But yeah, thank you. I'm going to let Stéphane do most of the talking, but yeah, obviously, so I've been working with my parents on the winery. We took over in 2014. And have been working with Stéphane ever since. So we're very lucky to have him working with us and making our wines. So yeah, thank you guys for joining. I will hand it over to Stéphane to take us through the winery.
Very well, super. Thank you so much, William. Thank you to the Kalik family to support this program and to give us all those beautiful samples that we're testing this morning, and also to support the market with us. Let's go with Stéphane now. So Stéphane is live, is in Bordeaux, is in the Chateau Picoron property vineyard, and he's right here with this little hat, so it looks like it's hot in Bordeaux. Hello, Stéphane. How you doing, buddy?
Hi. Yeah, it's very hot. It's been 38 degrees today, and probably at the moment it's still about 32 degrees. So we are undergoing quite a severe heat wave at the moment, but it should go better a bit later. So yes, hello everybody. I'm Stéphane Apelbaum. You please excuse my French accent, but I guess with Bruno you are used to it. So
thank you.
I've got also French accent, especially when I get a bit tired. So you are here into the vineyard. Actually, I'm going to stand up and give you a view of where I am exactly, because I am right into the vineyard plot called Maison, and you can see there's the house and the estate right there. And in front of me, actually, right down in front of you, you've got the Dordogne Valley. So Castillon is a very interesting place because it's Saint-Colomb, where we stand, is the continuity of the limestone ridge of Saint-Emilion, limestone and clay grounds. And of course, on this type of ground, we produce very good and very structured Merlot. My philosophy in general, and that's the reason why we are into the vineyard, is that everything starts there. Wine is not chemistry, wine is alchemy, and it starts by the fruit. And you guys probably know, but we are the only agricultural people where we cultivate the fruit and transform it all the way late to the bottling. And then after that, once it's bottled, the wine still has a long life in front of it. So it has a lot of transformation, and it's very interesting. So I like to say that being a winemaker, it's like if the baker was growing the wheat, making the flour, and baking the bread. So it's quite intense all year long. And I like to start with the fruit. So you can see at the moment that we are quite early in Bordeaux, because the Millet Raison is there. You can see the Merlot grapes, which means that in approximately 45 days, we'll be harvesting. Okay. So,
so here we're looking at the Merlot, correct? You only have
we're going at the Merlot because Picoron is 99% Merlot. We did overgraft a few rows in Cabernet Franc 2 years ago. But we can't say that we're really producing Cabernet Franc at the moment. And at least for the 2015 that you're going to taste, it's going to be 100% Merlot wine in any case. All right.
Beautiful, fantastic. So tell us a little bit more about what we are looking at right now. We're looking at the ground. Can you tell us?
So you're looking at the ground. Actually, the ground here, you can see this is clay, and you can see chips of limestone. Okay.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and those vines here are about 22 years old, so they are fully producing, and it's one of our best plots. We look a bit down, we've got plots all around the estate, but it's only covering 4 hectares, 0.20 actually of vines, and all the vineyard has been divided in different plots. So we have the plots. We have a plot like Maison, where we are, that makes usually Picoron wine, and we have plots down, which produce more Petit Picoron. The reason is quite simple. On where we are just at the edge of the slope. So we've got vineyards on top. We are more standing on clay and limestone, and on the bottom where it is a little bit more sandy limestone, and the wine are a bit more fruitier. They're a bit less density into the Merlot grapes at down there. So what to say, the philosophy here is quite classical. We avoid weed killers. We use sexual confusing methodology. We are being actually HVA3 now certification, which means we take care of our environment. We live from the environment, so we must take care of it. And I know it's a big issue now. And the next challenge for us here in Bordeaux is, like I guess everywhere, it's global warming or climate change, and trying to make wines which are a bit, we're fighting with the alcohol rate at the moment. So we're trying to get a new strategy in order to have still very balanced wine at the end. You know, the balance of the wine is between the alcohol, the acidity, and the tannin. And that's very, very important to respect in order to have a well-balanced wine.
Beautiful, beautiful. Again, how many acres? It's a 1 block vineyard. It's how many acres?
It's it's 5 block vineyard. The Maison plot, the Vallon plot right down there. Next we can't see, but there's a church. We call it the church plot. And behind me, we've got all the plots behind the road, behind the pile of wood. Actually, we have what we call the terrace. The terrace is divided in 3 plots, and it's where we also do Picoron.
Beautiful. And so what was why did you took over this consulting? What did you think then Chateau Picoron, the vineyard of Picoron, was such a special place to make obviously one of the best wine over there in this region?
Because I'm a little bit fed up. You know, I'm from Saint-Émilion, and I'm fed up that Saint-Émilion is just 200 meters away from here, and that the wines of Saint-Émilion sell much better than Castillon wine in general, because people don't know that Castillon benefits from great terroir, totally similar from Saint-Émilion. And so it was quite challenging to show for me and to show to other people that in Castillon it's possible to make a great wine if we adapt the same kind of methodology than in Saint-Emilion, which means, not too high yielding, leaf thinning, and long maturation of the wine in barrels, because they hold a lot of tannin. We need to mature Chateau Picoron in barrels in order to smoothen out the tannin. And that's the reason, the main purpose to be here. I believe this terroir is great, and I'm very happy to be here.
Okay. Now going back, I have a few questions for the people online here. The first question is the global warming. Are you going to expect the harvest to be earlier this year?
Yeah. Well, yes. Yeah.
Can you mute, you guys? Can you just be sure you mute if you have a background? Thank you. Go ahead.
It's all online.
Alan, can you mute yourself for a sec, please? Thank you. Go ahead, Stéphane.
Yes. Actually, we are 2 weeks earlier than usual in terms of maturation. The mi-veraison is well over, and usually you expect that to be mid-August. So we are earlier this year. We're expecting great vintage and early vintage. Yes.
Okay. Do you think it's something you see for the last few years, or since when you see the change?
Oh, I started to see the change. Here's the chateau, by the way. I started to see the change. Actually, after the years 2000. I remember, when I started to be a winemaker, Bruno, it was 32 years ago. And when we had Merlot and getting into the vats at 12.5 potential degrees naturally, we were jumping on the ceiling. We were very happy. But there was no year where we wouldn't add sugar into the vats in order to increase slightly a bit the sugar level. Today, the same Merlot, they appear to be, when they are 14.5, we are very happy because they're not too high, but very often they're above 15. The problem in France that we have towards other countries is, like, for example, in California, the law, we are the world champion to restrict ourselves with legislation. So we don't have the same technical means that you have in California. We don't have the right to add water to lower down the sugar rate level and to remove the water by osmosis inverses afterwards. So we totally rely on climatic factors. In France, vineyards are not irrigated, and we need to have our roots to go down very deep in order not to suffer from droughtness. We have very, very important specificities in France that other countries don't share with us. And that's why climatic change is a huge.
Okay. It looks like you're on the bad spot, Stéphane, so maybe toward the winery. There we go. You're back.
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, very good.
All right.
Okay, great. One of the questions that we have also is a new labeling in Côte de Castillon by law. What do you think about the Côte de Castillon labeling?
You mean about the Castillon Côte de Bordeaux labeling?
Yeah.
I think it's very confusing.
It is confusing.
Once again, we tried. They wanted to make something easier, and I think they complicated the idea. I believe that to belong to the entire Côte de Bordeaux and to name Castillon is like a communal. It should be like a communal, like a town label. Then the specificity should be much harder. And like example, it would be the difference like Saint-Emilion and Saint-Emilion Grand Cru. If you are just Côte de Bordeaux or just Saint-Emilion, you can have the wine travel in bulk and be bottled outside the appellation. And I would thought that Castillon, they would impose only bottling on the estate, only bottled bottles and not bulk to be sold to wine merchants, So if it's the purpose at the end, that's great. Otherwise, I don't think it makes a great change, personally thinking, yeah.
Yeah, it's obviously something that the government, I have another question here from Karen. It's something that the government doesn't do very often. We're not changing rules and regulation in Europe or in France. I think we do it way more often in Italy. but that we're not doing that very often in Bordeaux. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. We have a tendency, like I said earlier, in France, it's a French culture. You know, when Europe decides something and when the law goes into the parliament, in France, we even put stricter laws on top of the European laws. So like that, the politicians later on can say it's Europe's fault. Well, it's exactly the same way the French administration works here. And we have the most severe legislation for the wine making in the world. Then, of course, we have certain specificities, which I think are great. Like we are not allowed to grow whatever we want into our grounds because of we planted the grape varietals depending on the local climatology. You know, we don't have the right to grow Pinot Noir in Bordeaux or Chardonnay. If we do so, it will be just vin de table. We don't have the right to irrigate, which means that we benefit from truly aromas coming from ground and underground. In the word terroir, there is the soil and the underground being implicated into this, and the aroma from our wines come, truly speaking, from the ground and the underground. So the older the vine gets, the root system goes down very deeply, and then complexifies the wine, and that's great. But sometimes they could make things simpler for us.
Yeah. Okay, let's go back to the two different cuvées that we're doing. We're doing the Petit Picoron and we're doing the Picoron. The question is, do you pick it up Petit Picoron, Picoron, made those two cuvées in a different time?
So Petit Picoron is picked up a bit earlier because we want to benefit from the fruitness of the wine, and it's got what we call a technical itinerary slightly different, which means I'm turning around to the entrance of the vat house. Is collected earlier and is fermented cool, and Picoron is harvested usually a week or 10 days later.
Yeah, I've been doing it.
Okay, so I'm going to let you enter
Can you hear me?
the winery for a sec. I am going to obviously.
Can you hear me?
Let you get a beautiful connection. I am going to share a few slides with you if I can.
Yeah.
I just want to be sure that everybody see you see the exposition where Picoron is about on the map. So over here you have the right bank. You see Picoron, that's Côte de Castillon, and right here on the number 20. That's just to show you a little map presentation. I don't want to take too much of. I'm going to take another one, I guess. Hold on.
Nobody.
There you go. Stéphane is back. Really.
Yeah, I am back.
Perfect. So I am going to show you more slides. When Stéphane loses connection, I'm going to try to do that, guys. Get you some slides. Then you can actually find on our YouTube channel. We are recording this session right now, and you will have the ability to have access to this YouTube recording session where all the slides and all the maps description will be there. Now here we go. We are going to enter to the wine cellar of Picoron with Stéphane live.
Yes. Can you guys hear me fine?
Yes, it's perfect.
All right. So here's the Picoron's vat house where the vinification vats, and you can see that those vats are tronconic inverses.
Yeah, I'm gonna go agree with you.
It's like just a fucked up feeling over here.
Okay.
Please take it off, mute yourself. If you're not mute, please. Let's listen to Stéphane for a sec.
So the way we collect the berries, we sort them out outside, and then when we fill the vats, we use a peristatic pump. So the berries are not crushed actually; they go inside the vats, and they go inside those vats, and they are totally full. And we harvest very early in the morning in order to benefit from cold berries.
Okay.
The reason is quite simple. Is we undergo a pre-cool maceration before we want the alcoholic fermentation to start. So we can cool, and the cooling system here is what we call a bee net outside the vat. And you can see, like I showed you, the inside of the vat is totally empty. And I will explain to you why. It has to do with the extraction. So we try to undergo a cooling pre-maceration because we want to keep the fruit intact as long as possible and to start to have the anthocyan, which is the pigmentation of the berry, to go inside the flesh before the fermentation starts. Like that, we don't need to focus on the color anymore. We just need to focus on the extraction. As soon as we're happy with that, we warm up the vats to a temperature where the natural yeast can start developing, and we'll start the extraction. So the particularity here is that we don't use any pump. You know, pumping a wine for me is like spanking a baby. I mean, we are welcoming new babies here every year. It's like a big nursery, and we want to be very gentle. So our main tool is this, okay? This is a pigeur, a manual pigeur. Actually, instead of pumping over the juice over the cap, we push the cap through the juice. It's done in Burgundy. It's also sometimes done in Bordeaux. Here, we do it by hand. And the reason is that every time we use physical strength, we are sure not to over-extract. When we're using technical device, we have a tendency to be over-extracting because it doesn't cost us anything except electricity. So I like the idea that we do pushing down of the cap by hand. Like that, we can feel you know, the tension of the cap, we can feel the strength, and we don't over go on the extraction part.
Got it. And now, just to be sure I understand, are you using any old cluster or not? Because obviously you're doing pigeage, so.
Yeah, no, well, this one looks old because we use it, we've been using it. No, I've had it done by a friend of mine who is a carpenter, and he's the guy in Saint-Emilion who you know, builds it for me.
Okay, but my question was, is all cluster, are you keeping all the cluster, or are you pretty much doing, you take off all the cluster?
What is the cluster? So,
les grappages. Tu es grappe?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, we destem. We destem all the berries. Yeah, the berries are full, intact, but without the stem. Sorry about the cluster, it was the word. No, we destem. We are now into a tendency to maybe try to sow the stem and to put some back when they are very ripe in order to bring another component, natural tannin, but usually not.
Well, the cluster and the pigeage works against each other usually. That's why it's very difficult to balance up. So that's what I thought. Yeah.
Exactly. It's very strong. Now, I am totally against oxygen during the alcoholic fermentation. Usually you have to add oxygen in order to have the yeast being fed up with oxygen, and also to have the right component translation between the fixation of the color and the tannin. But the problem with that is that then the fermentation goes very, very fast, even if you control the temperature. So I have a tendency to not add oxygen at all, at least until the 2/3 of the fermentation, so that it lasts as long as possible. One of the reasons of that also is because I'm a lazy boy. And if I have a fermentation that goes slower, I purchase time. And I like to have time to think and to taste rather than to spit. You know, when it ferments very quickly, you have to be there in the vat house, in the nursery all the time. When it ferments slowly, you have time, and you have also time to do nothing, which means just tasting and not extracting. And that's my philosophy, to give time. So usual alcoholic fermentation take 10 days. Here they take 25 days, sometimes 30 days. Okay?
Got it. We're going to start, everyone, and I'm sure everyone already did it, but in case you didn't start the testing, let's be sure that everybody testing the Petit Picoron first, 2015 vintage, and Stéphane's going to talk to us a little bit more about this specific Petit Picoron 2015 vintage. So the vintage 2015, but also the approach with Petit Picoron in relation or in comparison with the other black reserve label. Here we go. You're here. You prepare, Stéphane. Look at you. A good setup. Put in the cellar. I love it. Perfect. Nice. Very
That's
good.
what we're tasting.
Here we go. So everyone, be sure then you grab the Petit Picoron 2015 vintage. Let's test this together. Obviously, I'm going to ask Stéphane about the philosophy behind this cuvee and exactly the way that he made this wine. But you're welcome at the end of this little presentation to actually ask any question or to do a little testing presentation for us. Go ahead.
So Petit Picoron, we didn't go downstairs, but downstairs we have the barrels room. Typically, Petit Picoron doesn't see any wood most of the time, partially, but usually the wine is made to be drinkable sooner. It's vinified in a sense that we don't try to extract too many tannin in order to be more gentle and smoother, and so that you don't need to cellar it. So 2015 is a very solar vintage. You know, it's a hot vintage. It was our first vintage. Petit Picoron is a wine, like I said, that should be smooth. So it doesn't see any oak, but normally, but in 2015, a bit of it, 10%. The 10% of barrels that were put into this wine are because they were not satisfying to be put into the big wine, and they were more looking to be fit into Picoron, Petit Picoron. Okay, so when we look at
we're 100% Merlot, just to be sure everybody knows, it's 100% Merlot, all of the vine.
Yeah, 100% Merlot. It was bottled in 2017. So it's
what is it? Sorry, Stéphane. What is the year of the vine? All of the vine to make the Petit Picoron. Are you picking up Petit Picoron from a very specific slot in the vineyard, or?
Yes, yeah. Petit Picoron is picked up on the plot Vallon. I did send you a mapping of the estate, which is the plot we saw where I was in the vineyard down towards the Dordogne Valley, just underneath where the limestone is less on the surface. Okay, and it's used. It's mostly picked up on that, collected on that plot, Vallon. So you should switch. That's the terroir. You can see Picoron. Switch to the map of the estate. It's in red, and normally slide
now
down.
This one?
No, that's Carte Van de Valley. No, not this one. Go ahead, Bruno.
I am
got
going.
other maps. Okay.
Okay.
I don't see the map. I can show it here if you want.
Okay,
look,
go ahead.
Bruno. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's the map. Here's the map
this
of the
one.
estate.
Yeah, I have this one somewhere.
Yes, this one. Have you got this one?
Yeah, I have this one. I'm going to find it.
Okay, but
go ahead. Continue with the testing. I'm going to find it.
Yeah. So Picoron typically comes from this plot. So it was bottled in 2017. It's got you can see a slight evolution color, rich. You know, it's still nice red. And we're going to first put on the nose. So you can feel a nice dark fruit on the nose, and a bouquet naissant actually on the wine. A bit of for me, a bit of a slightly oaky smell on the nose, but more dark fruit, plum for me on the first nose. Then now it reveals when you are agitating it a little bit, it's revealing more spicy nose, and still very intense with the fruit.
So we're at 10% neutral oak, correct? For Petit Picoron, 10% you did on the 2015 vintage.
Yeah.
Very good. And that's come from the Vallon, and I put the map up right now. So this is coming from this Vallon size of the property, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Perfect, perfect.
So the spices are more like a bit licorice nose. Sorry, maybe you can't see me more. Okay.
Yeah, we see
so
you.
now I'm going to put it in the. Sorry.
We are seeing you. We're all good.
Okay, good.
Okay.
It's a full body wine, you know, very fleshy, intense, nice, very smooth. The tannins are not rough, you know, and it's got a nice aftertaste, quite fresh, and quite long. The licorice comes back intensively in retrofaction for me, but this wine is ready for drinking. For me, this wine can be enjoyed right now. It doesn't need to be cellared anymore. It's got 3 years of bottling, and the purpose of this wine is to be, you know, more taken like a sipping wine. You know, in France, we always associate wine with food. I know that in America, you guys like to sip wine. Well, this is a sipping wine.
Beautiful.
For me.
If I want to take 1 minute, we have Sam right here from Custa Wine Cheese in Los Angeles. And what we do on a Friday, we want to be sure that we also do a little food pairing. So Custa is a cheese store in Los Angeles. They did prepare a little cheese pairing for us. I'm going to take 1 minute with Sam. Sam, how you doing, buddy? So I do have a chance to come back last night to Custa, and I also did myself pick up some cheese. If you want to get cheese on a Friday, guys, be sure you order it from Custa. They are great people. They have great local cheese, and today we're going to talk about the California cheese, I believe, or U.S. cheese, I believe.
Yeah, it's all
with the Bordeaux wine. Go ahead, Sam.
It's all domestically made right now. We're having some trouble getting a lot of, you know, French, Italian cheeses from around the world right now, but a lot of these are, you know, European styled. So I'm going to start with Hooligan, which is this guy right here. Hooligan is out of Connecticut. It tastes like dirt and peas in the nicest way possible. All these are kind of bizarre tasting notes, but they worked really closely with Belgian and French cheesemakers to make a really nice washed rind. It's salty, it's vegetal. It works really great with like the spice and the licorice notes in this wine. The small piece right here, I've got the whole wheel as well, is Glacier Blue. That is from Cascadia Creamery up in Washington. It's a really easy blue. It's not too intense, not too funky. It's aged in, all their cheeses from Cascadia Creamery are aged in non-active volcanic tubes, which are just the perfect temperature and humidity to really age cheese well. It sort of tastes like griddled beef fat and like bone marrow and steaky and nutty, and it's just super savory. And you know, with Bordeaux, I love red meat, and it's nice to have a cheese that sort of fakes some of those flavors. And then lastly, this one's close to home for me. It is Ruby from Green Dirt Farm in Missouri, not far from Kansas City. It is a sheep and cow blend, sort of a Robiola Italian style cheese. It's vegetal, it's buttery, but at the optimal, you know, ripeness, I find it kind of tastes like cigarettes in the strangest way, but very pleasantly. It's ashy, it's smoky, it's dark, tobacco-y, but it's really cool. And again, it's a soft cheese that I think works super well with the spice notes in this wine. Yeah, that's what I've got for today. Thanks so much.
Now, can you tell me on the 3 cheese that you present, you just test the Petit Picoron, what will be your favorite?
My favorite's the blue. I love the Glacier Blue.
Blue with the Petit Picoron.
Exactly. There's something about it together where the flavors just meld really well. The texture of the cheese, it's my favorite blue we carry at the moment, and it's one of my favorite non-seasonal blues. And I think this is a great, you know, because of price point, flavors, it's a great gateway Bordeaux. So it's nice to pair it with a great gateway cheese for our customers who maybe don't want to take the full leap to like super intense, like Roquefort or things like that.
Super. Thank you so much, Sam,
for having me.
I'm sorry for everyone doesn't have any cheese on the front of you guys, but what we're going to do for next time, we're going to let you know which cheese that we believe will be the best pairing a week in advance when you get your samples. And this way you can grab some of the cheese from Custa or anywhere you at from a different location. And this way we will have the same cheese on the same time. Thank you again, Sam. I really appreciate your feedback on that and your presentation. I really do. Let's go and let's have someone in the group to maybe describe the wine if you have a sec. Who want to take the lead on the wine description? I do have obviously Stéphane back over here, but let's pick up someone in the group. Who is up to the task here? Who want to take the lead on the description of Petit Picoron, what you felt about it? I don't see any hand up, but I can pick one if you want.
I'll do it. It's
okay,
fine.
go. Okay, let me see if I see everyone here. I'm trying to get everyone. Who's up? That's a lot of people today, guys.
I'll do it.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you very well.
Okay, great. Yeah, we got a new Zoom camera for the store, so it's kind of fun. So this wine I find to be very intense, really beautiful flavors. You get that tobacco thing happening, some really intense plum, like a plum, stewed plum, in a good way. Definitely a little bit of cherry and I think I already discussed the tobacco flavor, but this wine, the nose is amazing. It's got beautiful tannic structure. I think it's extracted perfectly. I love this wine, and I think it's a ton of bang for the buck.
Thank you, Karen. So this is Karen from Vino 100 in Reno. She's a huge follower with us. Thank you so much, Karen, for your description and obviously the support of the business that you do every week with us. I really do appreciate it. And hello to
I
you.
carry this wine and retasting, and I'm going to be sure to sell a lot more of this. It's really beautiful.
Okay, well, thanks, Karen. It makes me want to continue my job.
Yes, let's do that. Stéphane, we're going to get Stéphane back. We're going to test the second wine now. We're going to test the black label. I believe then you will see the difference, guys, and I love to put those two wines next to each other. Stéphane is back 2015 Black Label Edition. Tell us the difference in the vineyard, the difference of the vine, and the difference in winemaking to make this a different wine. Go ahead.
So the difference that is Picoron is being collected on the plot where we met, actually, the house plots, but also on the terrace plots, which are on terrace. Okay, yeah, there you go. You see the three terrace plots plus the plot called Maison. This is where Picoron comes from mostly. The plot église that you see can do either Petit or Picoron depending on the years. But Picoron is done on Maison and the terrace. The reason is that, yeah, we have less ground on top of there, and the vineyard benefits from a bit more freshness, never suffers from droughtness, and we benefit directly from the limestone. So it's collected usually a week later. It has the same process, no crushing, and also pigeage. But actually, the main difference with Petit Picoron is actually right there. Let me show you. I'm going downstairs very quickly. It's there. You see?
Wow, that's the wine barrel room. Yeah, that's why you.
That's the wine barrel room. Yes, and actually.
Well, sorry, before you go back, Stéphane, before you go back, can you please show us what is on the wall in the room?
Ah, yeah, you want to see what's on the wall in the room. Well, actually, you can see, wait one sec, here. This cellar was digged under the limestone, okay?
So that's limestone, and that's deep to, how deep it is?
It looks like limestone, but it's not really limestone because it has to support the floor of the vat house on top of us. But the architect wanted people to imagine that if they had digged at the beginning on limestone, it would look like this. But these are actually cement pillars looking like limestone tubes to remind to everybody that we are under the limestone about 5 meters down. It also allows us to use our wine when they're downstairs. It allows us to feed our barrels, to fill up our barrels by gravity. And like I said, it's the same philosophy. We avoid pumping because we avoid spanking. Okay?
Yeah, that's great.
So that's,
now, I have some comment to say that's a little wine room, a little bottle room. Yes, Chateau Picoron is 100% estate, and Chateau Picoron is a very small production wine. The first vintage that we took over with Stéphane, and obviously we're inviting with Cadic family, it's to go after 2015 vintage was the first release made by Stéphane at Chateau Picoron. Picoron is an estate that I personally know for a long time, as I'm from Saint-Colombe, I'm from Saint-Emilion and Côte de Castillon with my family. My dad was a vineyard manager, and I'm in love with this property. The Merlot shine very, very well. So yes, the wine room is little because it's a small, tiny production. It's a craft production. And that's why we want to keep this as a very exclusive wine for us. Now, Stéphane is back in the wine room where the connection is better. And we're going to obviously test the black label again. And we're going to ask someone to agree or don't agree or to do the testing with us. Go ahead, Stéphane.
Okay, so Picoron 15 stayed in barrels for about 14 to 15 months. And about 60% of it was new barrels and the rest 1-year-old oak. For me, a successful maturing in barrels is when you don't smell the barrels. The barrels are not there to add aromas, even though it does bring aromatic smells, but it needs to fade away in time in order to proceed to the fruit. So for me, successful barrels are there to smoothen out the tannin, to bring aromatic smells, but afterwards, after cellaring the wine, the barrel should not be, felt or smelled. The fruit should come back. Okay. So Picoron 15 stand 15 months in barrels. Here, compared to Petit Picoron, the nose is real dense. We can see that the wine is still a bit closed. I mean, the wine. Probably in the States, it may be a bit more open because when it travels with the shake of the traveling, they open faster. But here, the wine is, for me, a bit closed, which means that the wine can still, be cellared or would need a decantation with a bit of oxygen in order to reveal itself to its best, okay?
Now,
so,
the huge difference is in the vineyard. It's the older vineyard that you're talking about. It's still 100% Merlot. Obviously, the fermentation is a little bit different. We do the aging a little bit different. But what did we think that we use? What did you think that we done this black cuvee for? What was the ambition making this special cuvee?
The ambition of this special cuvee was to blindfolded compare this wine to great, very well-known Saint-Emilion wines, and that people would not see that it was a Castillon.
Okay. Don't be ashamed about Castillon, this is our hometown. Be proud of it. Be proud of it.
Yes, it's to show
Stéphane,
that.
Stéphane, I want to know why in Las Vegas we have a lot of wine to sell, and we have the best one. So I want to know why we should sell your wine instead of other ones.
Because I believe that this wine can please people that like very fruity, impressive wines, and that without paying the price of classified growth wines. That's it. I mean, there's a rapport qualité-prix, a price quality level, which is very high in Picoron that you would not find with other wines. So why should you sell this wine is to make it discovered to people and to show them that they don't need to be especially label drinkers, but they should be discoverers of wines that can be very well made and be as good or sometimes even better than certain well-known wines. That's all.
Thank you.
I think great. Thank you, Alan, for the question. Who want to take the lead on what they feel about this Picoron Black Label Edition? Obviously, I know Jack is always up to the speed with this. He's such a great describer. So, you know what, Jack? if anybody else want to take the lead, we always have Jack next to us, so we can always take advantage of it. Jack, what do you think, buddy?
No, I think Jeff would like to take over.
I know.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jeff. No, actually, we carry the 375s of this particular wine, and I don't know. Trying it again, it's been a while since we revisited, but you know, 100% Merlot, beautiful, velvety. I don't know. What do you say? Do you agree with it?
Yeah.
Jake.
I don't know.
You don't know.
Somebody else.
Jake, go ahead.
Yeah, so compared to the Petite, this has more of the black and blue fruits. Got a lot more of the ripe and jammier, fuller body nose on the fruit, right? A lot of that ripeness. Some of the vegetal, peppercorn, licorice, cinnamon type of notes as well too. Some good earthiness, right? Some of that potting soil, some of the flint mineralities as well too, is what I get compared to the Petite. On the palate, you know, same thing. The fruits do match, very black and blue fruits. It's dry for sure. Some floral components as well too. I couldn't pinpoint like which floral component, but there is some floral in there. Bigger mineralities on the palate compared to the Petite. Tannin and acidity, medium levels, perfect. Round textures and higher complexity than the Petite.
Thank you, Jack. I really appreciate it. Jack is the marketing director at Gelson. It's a family chain. Then we're working very closely. We're here in California. Thank you for the description, Jack. I really appreciate that. Does anybody else want to bring anything else? I have Mindy here say floral note, violet, lavender. I have a lot of floral note as well from Mindy as well, so that's great. But really what I really love about making this presentation with these two wines next to each other is to emphasize when a winemaker like Stéphane does have a vision, then they adapt his vision to the vineyard, which location I'm going to pick up my grape, at what breaks I'm going to pick up my grapes, but also to have a full vision about what I'm trying to establish as far as style of wine. And when you test those two wines, obviously Petit Picoron is more of the type of wine that I grew up with, more like Bordeaux classic feeling. And Picoron is pretty much a Frenchie like me living in the States for 25 years, 27 years now. It is the bridge between the old world to the new world. And importers, distributors like us, I love to say that if you really take your job seriously, you develop those type of cuvee with the winemaker. You talk to the winemaker, you tell them about what we're looking for. Then obviously our market is way more toward California Cab and how we're getting the consumer to embrace the quality of Bordeaux. How do you grab their intention? And this black cuvee for me is the bridge between the old world and the new world. It's the technique of vinification in Bordeaux, but with pigeage. It's extracting the wine a little bit more, still with a great wine balance. But I really feel that we have a market for this a little bit more fruit forward, but bigger body wine. And I believe Bordeaux need to wake up, and Bordeaux need to obviously make a wine and it's accessible to our consumers. And when you have people coming over to your restaurant or your store, it is very difficult for you to say, hey, why don't you just buy a Bordeaux wine? You don't know their palate, you don't know where they come from. And what you want to be sure in is you bring over a product, then you feel confidence enough to bring over to their palate. So I believe then the Black Label was creating because the relationship that I have with Stéphane, but also my background in Bordeaux, but also living here in the state for so many years. So I'm very glad that we actually test those two wines together. And vinification, yes, is very important, especially when you work closely with your winemaker, then follow up your philosophy and also to adapt himself. So that's what I want to say about that. Any other question for anyone? What did you like about this testing? Do you have any question for Stéphane? I'm going to go back to
Jason has a question.
Okay, go ahead, Jason.
Hold on, you're muted now. And am I unmuted? Okay, so definitely more so in the Picoron as opposed to the Petite. I wanted to make mention of everybody's talking about the fruit, but the fleshiness and I don't use this term a lot, but I think it plays a lot to what you were saying as far as essentially the body of the wine. The fleshiness of it. It tastes like the flesh of the fruit that everybody was describing. You get those, I saw everything from cocoa nib to good and plenty and all these comments in here, but the texture of the wine to me is what really sets this apart, and definitely bridges the gap between what you get from California wines, where you have a ton of that kind of rich, fleshy, heavy, more body, in Bordeaux, where you don't typically get as much body, but it still keeps the identity of Bordeaux.
That's really important to me, because some people say, "Well, you're trying to packerize your wine." We're not trying to get a score with Parker, and we really don't care when we make those wines at this point. But what we're trying to do is to understand and listening to the consumer about what they're looking for. We're not trying to obviously tackle up the integrity of Bordeaux, but we're also trying to, with the winemaker, obviously with Stéphane, follow up this direction very well. I believe that we're trying to reach out for more of the consumer and the evolution of their palate.
I absolutely love the fact that it keeps the identity, but it does reach out to, like you're saying, and you say consumer, but just more of what the change of the wine drinker is in the United States, at least, because that's what I'm familiar with. But just that style of having the richness, but still keeping the identity of Bordeaux intact.
Yeah.
That's what I like. That's my favorite thing about the wine.
I think you did a great description. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you, buddy. And anybody has any other questions? So I'm sorry, we're so many of us this morning, and I have a hard time to actually keep track of who's talking now. It looks like Nema from San Diego does have a question for us.
Yeah, hi,
so
guys.
Go ahead, Nema. Nema is our obviously somebody in San Diego. Thank you to be here. Tell me, what was your question?
Well, the question was actually, that was actually a great comment about the texture. And now I have the question for Stéphane, whether or not that texture is actually achieved by that prevention of oxygen during the fermentation. Because he mentioned that he does like 2/3 of it in those kind of anaerobic environment. So I would attribute that maybe to that kind of fleshiness yet fruitiness at the same time. So like, I think that whoever spoke before you, Bruno, also mentioned the gap. And I feel like this is a great wine in between the new and old world, where people like that new world regions and wines coming from them, but they lack the texture of the old world. I feel like this is just kind of in between.
I really appreciate it. Thank you, Nema, for this great question. I'm going to let Stéphane answer that. Stéphane, did you hear the question?
Yes, I did hear the question. And actually, there's two combinations. It's not really the lack of oxygen. It's the pre-cold maceration before the alcoholic fermentation, to preserve, to have all, like I said, the color, going to the flesh before the fermentation and all the fruitness. And then our work to as a winemaker, to transform the wine, is to just work on the texture. So the pigeage, the extraction, instead of focusing on the color and what thing, we just focus on the texture. And what I like, what I want is a bitey wine. Here, like when I talk after spitting out the wine, I feel like I've just bite into a fruit, black fruit, and I still have it in my mouth. And that's what I'm looking. And I also like silkiness. I like something that is very silky and smooth. And I'll go back to the French way of drinking wine with food. In France, we like to usually drink old vintages, because Bordeaux used to have to age and cellar before being accepted, because it was the way it was done. After Mr. Parker came, and we've changed a little bit, but probably changed a bit too much to my thinking. But we are not used to drink wine like this. But the world is drinking wine without drinking food. And so I want people to have both, to be able to associate the wine with food, but also to associate the wine with pleasure, without too much fuss, and have silkiness in their mouth. That's my focus, without betraying my tradition and without betraying Bordeaux.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Price, Bruno.
Very good.
Prices.
What's that?
Prices.
Okay, so this is, I want to, before we get to the price here, this is the hour timeline that we're trying to keep for everyone, because we want to be sure then you have. I want to give the last word to Stéphane, because obviously he's in Bordeaux, and I want to thank him very much to make the adjustment to be in the vineyard, in the cellar. Technically, we thought there's going to be a situation, but it works out pretty well. Thank you, Stéphane. So this is your last word. Go for it.
I want to say thank you to all of you to promote our wine into your restaurants, shops, or whatever. I really, really thank you for that so much. I also want you to announce that in Picoron, we are going to this year propose a new strategy also, and we're making the Merlot in all its states. We're going to try to make white wine out of Merlot. A bit of rosé, a bit of carbonic without sulfites. We are trying to accept a new modernity and also doing traditional wine, vinification. So please support us, and thanks to you all to do so. And hello to all the Americans who like Bordeaux wines.
Thank you, Stéphane. You did an amazing job. I really thank you very much to take the time this morning or tonight. It's night for you over there, and I know that's it's about the time for you to go back home and with your family. I want to thank you very much for all the support, all the beautiful work that you do for us at Chateau Picoron. Keep doing good wine for us. Then this is my only Côte de Castillon in my book, and we're the importer and the distributor. We're very pleased and very glad to work with you. Thank you, Stéphane, again, and thank you to the Calic family. Appreciate that.
Merci Bruno, et vive la France.
Merci, vive la France. Merci. Everyone, I am going to turn off the recording session as right now. I want to thank everyone to be part of this meeting. This is one of the largest group that we never have since we start in April. I want to announce that we're going to do that in 2 weeks with Baptiste Cuvelier. I wish he would be in Argentina, but he would be in Corsica live with us, which he doesn't have any vineyard up there, but he's going to talk to us about Argentinian products. So it's going to be Cuvelier Los Andes from Argentina, from Yucco Valley, from Mendoza, I should say. And that's going to be in 2 weeks. So if you want to be part of it, let us know, and we will get you samples, and we will love to see you again on this amazing live trade testing that we do every other week. At Regency Wine, Nevada, and Hillside Wine and Spirit in California. And here we go. Thank you.